Time for a regularly scheduled meeting.
Call your wife. Here. Erickson. Here. Holland. Here. Back here. Humphrey. Here. Mines. Here. Price. Here. Sorensen.
Here.
Ward. Here. Mayor Powell.
Here.
Student Representative Paulson. Here.
Would everyone please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Item 3 are minutes. We have minutes from September 5th regular meeting and September 5th special meeting. A motion and a second to approve both sets of minutes. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion carries. Item 4, adoption of the agenda. Mike, I think there are a couple of changes.
Should have been a memo in front of everybody's spot here. We're requesting to remove the new business item 8G that was dealing with the purchase of a parking lot in the southeast corner of Market Street in Kidder, and add item 8G, request to close one block section of Pine Street from National Street to Cedar Street on Friday, September 29th, 2017, from 3 p.m. to 9 p.m. for Alpha Phi Sisterhood event. And then we're looking to add 2 items to the consensus agenda. Item B would be set a public hearing date of October 2nd, 2017 for the Vermillion Area Chamber and Development Company special daily malt beverage and wine license on or about October 13th and 14th at Radigan Platz and portions of Market and Main Street for Oktoberfest events. And also the consent agenda, item C, set a public hearing date of October 2nd, 2017 for a special permit to exceed permissible sound levels for the Vermillion Area Chamber of Commerce and Development Company on or about October 13th and 14th at the Radigan Platz and portions of Market Street from 5 p.m. to 11 p.m. for Oktoberfest events.
Thank you, Mike. With those corrections, Council?
Move approval of the amended agenda. Second.
A motion and a second to approve the agenda as amended. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion carries. Thank you. Item 5, visitors to be heard. Addressing the council. Persons addressing the council shall use the microphone at the podium. Please raise your hand to be recognized. Go to the podium and state your name and address. For items that are not on the agenda, members of the public may speak under visitors to be heard on any topic not on the agenda. Remarks are limited to 5 minutes and no decision will be made at this time. For agenda items, public testimony will be taken at the beginning of each agenda item after the subject has been announced by the mayor and explained by staff. Any citizen who wishes may speak one time for 5 minutes on each agenda item. Public testimony will then be closed and the topic will be given to the governing body for possible action. At this point, only city council members and staff may discuss the current agenda item unless a council member moves to allow another person to speak and there is unanimous consent from the council. Questions from council members, however, may be directed to staff or a member of the public through the presiding officer at any time. At this point, is there anyone in the audience that has a comment that they'd like to make on an item that's not on the agenda? Anybody on item not on the agenda? Council, anyone on the council have an item that's not on the agenda? Seeing none, then we'll move to our public hearings. Item A, retail on-off sale malt beverage license for Old Lumber Company, Inc., for Old Lumber Company Grill and Bar at 15 Court Street. Mike, please.
An application was received for a retail on-off sale malt beverage license for the Old Lumber Company Incorporated for the Old Lumber Company Grill and Bar at 15 Court Street. The notice of hearing and the police chief's report on the applicant are included in the packet. The retail on-off sale malt beverage license is for the licensing period that would end on June 30th, 2018. The City Council has the ability to issue a license on basically two criteria: suitable person and suitable location. As to the suitable person, the Old Lumber Company Incorporated has been issued a retail on-sale liquor license at this location for a number of years and previously held a retail on-off sale malt beverage license at this location until September 16th, 2015. As to the suitable location, this license has already been issued to this location for a number of years. The fee is $300 for the on-off sale malt beverage license. The city retains half for $150. The other $150 is remitted to the state. Following the input of public hearing, the City Council is asked to make a decision on approval of the retail on-off sale malt beverage license. When the license was transferred back in 2012 to the Old Lumber Company, and with subsequent renewals, the motion has been made to include for the interior of the building at said location. The City Council will need to consider if it wants to continue this restriction to the interior of the building, as has been done with the liquor license and previous malt beverage licenses.
Thank you, Mike. Is there anyone in the audience that wishes to comment on this agenda item? Anyone in the audience? Seeing none, I'll turn it to the council. Rich, please.
John or Mike, is there anything to change from their previous ruling about inside only? I mean, have they improved the upper part or done anything different that you know of?
At this time, no, I don't know of anything that's been done differently.
Then I move approval with the restrictions, including the restrictions, which is interior only. Second.
We have a motion and a second. Further discussion.
I just have a question. I know at one time there was discussion among some about code. Maybe it had to do with that room upstairs, but so that's no longer any kind of issue or matter as far as you know, Mike or John, or I guess the police. Usually we get either a recommendation or in this case it's. So this is a little different than normal, I guess what I'm saying, isn't it?
We do have a police report.
I think Mr. Sorensen might be speaking to, there was an issue early on when they first opened at this location with respect to the egress stairs they had and the number of occupants that they could have upstairs. I think that may be the issue to which you might be referring. And I know that they've been advised as to what that number is. I don't know the number off the top of my head. It's a large physical space, I think, that can support comfortably more people than that, but they understand that the egress that they have only allows for X number, and I can get that number for you.
That's what I appreciate the reminder and shaking the cobwebs loose. Thank you very much.
There also was some thought of having something on the roof for smoking, but I don't think we've had anything come before us for that, have we?
No, if they'd want to do something like that, they'd need to apply for a building permit. Right. And with this restriction on the license at that time, we'd probably come forward to the council if there was any change to allow it in an exterior area.
Yep. Thank you, Mike. Any further discussion, council? We do have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion carries. Thank you. Item B, a resolution approving special assessment roll for nuisance abatement. Again, Mike, please.
On August 21st, the City Council adopted a resolution setting a public hearing date for tonight, September 18th, for the nuisance abatement special assessments. The notice was published and letters were sent by first-class mail to the property owners of record. The individual billings for each property are listed on the resolution, indicating the date and what the violation was and the corrective action. It is recommended that the City Council receive any public comment and consider the information. We're not aware of any information that's not been previously presented with respect to any of the proposed special assessment that would warrant reducing the amount, and would recommend adoption of the resolution. After adoption, a copy of the resolution is mailed to the property owners, who will be allowed 30 days to pay the assessment without interest.
Thank you, Mike. Is there anyone in the audience that wishes to comment on this item? Seeing none, council? Second. A motion and a second to approve the resolution. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion carries. Thanks, Mike. Item 7A, second reading of ordinance 1359 to modify Chapter 155 to delete airport definition and municipally owned airport, add municipally owned airport as a permitted use in NRC zoning, and delete airport as a conditional use in HI zoning. Jake, please.
All right, thank you, Mayor. So just as a reminder, this is the second reading of this, but last meeting when it came up, what we discussed was that Harold Davidson Field, the city's been operating that since 1957. It was brought into the city in 2016 when it was annexed in, and at that time it came in as NRC, Natural Resource Conservation. We don't allow airports in that zoning, and so this is just a change to bring it into compliance. We also took the opportunity to modify Chapter 155 and proposed removing the airport definition and adding in a new definition for a municipally owned airport, and then creating municipally owned airport as a permitted use in NRC zoning, and then deleting airport as a conditional use in heavy industrial zoning. And so there was some question at the last meeting whether or not this could later come back to bite us. We did get in touch with the planners at CCOG just to see if they had any opinions on it, and they said, looking at the changes we're making, fairly standard and shouldn't cause us any problems down the road. Administration recommends approval of the second reading of Ordinance 1359 with these definitional and usage changes, and since this is second reading, it does require a roll call vote.
Okay. Council?
Move approval.
A motion and a second to approve the second reading of Ordinance 1359. Any further comments? Seeing none, roll call, please, Don. As you can see, the results, 9 yes, 0 no. The motion passes. Thank you. Item 7B, second reading of Ordinance 1360 to delete Chapter 157 Airport Zoning. Again, Jake, please.
All right, so in line with what the council just passed, Chapter 157 of our zoning pertains just to airport zoning, something that would no longer be necessary. September 5th, the council held a public hearing on this proposed ordinance, unanimously approved the first reading. Again, administration would recommend approval of this second reading, and again, a roll call vote is required.
Thank you, Jake. Council? Motion and second to approve the second reading of Ordinance 1360 to delete Chapter 157. Again, Don, if you'd set for the roll call. Results are 9 yes and 0 no. The motion passes. Thank you. Item 7C, second reading of Ordinance 1361, 2018 appropriations. John, please.
Thank you. Over the last couple months since the city staff presented a budget to the city council at your first meeting in August, you've been working on developing a budget for 2018. And I know the council spent a lot of time on this, and for the public, I think there was probably about 8 hours worth of meetings just dedicated to going through the budget book and working through that process. I just want to touch on a couple of the highlights again that we have planned for the 2018 budget. Again, we're continuing some improvements and investment in our park system. We have $335,000 worth of park improvements that will be made next year. One of the more visible projects we have is a reconstruction of Jefferson Street. That'll be rebuilt from Clark to Duke. We've also included the funding for outside agencies. There's some increased street funding for chip seal and other improvement projects. 2018 will be the third of our four-year plan to convert all of our streetlights in the community to LED street lighting for both energy cost and as well as the brighter, whiter light. Next year, we'll embark on a 5-year project for AMI, which is Advanced Metering Infrastructure, which will allow for the finance staff to be able to turn off and read electric meters from here in the building or at the Municipal Service Center. And it's also, at some point, will probably lead to time of day rates as our energy providers go to that. There are no electric rate increases or water rate increases that are included in the 2018 budget. We do have 2 rate increases. Our curbside recycling would increase from the current fee of $3.50 a month to $3.70 a month. That'll generate about another $6,000 for that program a year. And then the stormwater utility fee will have an increase in that of about 3 to 4%. That will generate about another $10,000 for that particular fund in 2018. The wastewater rates are annually evaluated in May based on the domestic water consumption use over the winter months. We do have one additional employee that is budgeted for next year. In partnership with Clay County, we run the dispatch center, emergency communications, and to alleviate some of the single staffing time that we have there, we do have an additional employee proposed for the 911 center for next year. I want to particularly thank not only our city council for all the time they spend on this, but our department heads as well as our city employees with the ideas that they suggest and bring forward. Be happy to answer any questions the council has.
Thank you, John. Comments or questions for our city manager? Anybody care to make a motion? Motion a second to approve the second reading of ordinance 1361 for our 2018 appropriation. All in favor? Oops, sorry. Don? Roll call. As you can see, 9 yes and 0 no, so the motion passes. Next item, 7D, second reading of ordinance 1362, 2017 revised appropriations. Again, John, please.
So in September of 2016, you adopted the 2017 budget, and each year there's always some changes that need to be made based on things that come up, things that happen or don't happen as according to the plan. And so with the revised budget ordinance for 2017, we do have a couple of changes, and for the public, these were reviewed during the budget sessions that we had back in August. A couple of noteworthy changes I might mention. Our sales tax collection has been down a little bit. We're basically now pulled about even for 2017 year-to-date compared to 2016 year-to-date. And so we are proposing that the sales tax collection be revised in both our general fund as well as in the second penny fund, revise that down by approximately $68,000 for this budget year 2017. The timing of our Prentice Park projects, when you adopted the budget in September of 2016 for 2017, we weren't quite certain, what the outlay would be for the construction in terms of how much would get done in 2016, how much would be completed in 2017. So those numbers are off a little bit that way. About 2 months ago, the City Council did so that we have a parking lot for both pool, park usage, as well as baseball next year. You move forward the construction of the parking lot in Prentice Park to begin with a completion date in May of next year, so that will result in some funding be expended this year that ordinarily we hadn't planned for when you adopted this ordinance in September of last year. So the general fund, we have some changes that basically will take it from about $8.4 million to $8.6 million, and then the second penny fund would go from approximately $1.9 million to about $2.6 million. We'd be happy to answer any questions, and this is a roll call.
Thank you. Any questions for John? Motion and a second to approve the second reading of ordinance 1362, the 2017 revised appropriations. Don, please, for a roll call. We have 9 yes and 0 no, so the motion passes. Thank you. Under new business, item A, a request from VCDC to close Main Street on September 28th and 29th, 2017 for Fireball Run. And John?
Thank you. Late last year, first part of this year, our VCDC staff was able to work with the Amazon Prime TV series Fireball Run to help bring one of those filmings of that particular television show here to Vermillion. And so later this month, they will be in Vermillion, and they have been in Vermillion doing some site footage of particular places and events, but they'll be bringing in the cars, so to speak, on Thursday, September 28th and Friday, September 29th. And so they have requested 2 different street closings. The first one, they encompass the same area, but there's 2 different times. It's Main Street, halfway between approximately Dakota and Elm, to the west edge of Radigan Platts, and then the half block of Center Street here in front of City Hall, and then also, let's see, Market Street from Main Street to the alley halfway between Main and Kidder Street. The first closure is from 2 p.m. to 6:30 p.m. on Thursday, September 28th, and then the second closure is from 5 a.m. to 9:30 a.m. on Friday, September 29th. We've communicated this to our police, fire, EMS, and 911 center. We've also notified the school district as some of our bus routes do utilize Main on both of those 2 days. So those are the 2 respective street closings. I might turn over to Nate or Elijah if they want to describe the event more completely than what I can certainly do.
Thanks, John.
Evening, Council. Thank you for having us. My name is Elijah, and I'm a representative with the Vermillion Chamber Development Company. We just wanted to explain a little bit about the event and sort of what's happening and what it's about and why it's taking up this portion of Main Street. Basically, what will be happening is we'll be welcoming about 60 different vehicles that have been traveling across the upper Midwest to different communities across the country, sort of embracing those communities and finding some of the best aspects of those communities. So what they'll be doing on Main Street is they'll be welcomed into town on that first day, the 28th, right around 4:30. So that 2 o'clock time allows us time for setup. There'll be a small stage and a sound system set up, as well as some other things for the event. We'll welcome them with just a brief little ceremony saying, welcome to Vermillion. We're excited to have you in our community. Then they will be sent on their missions, so to speak. So they will then sort of scatter throughout town. They'll go to 5 different destinations around the community, and from there they will do certain activities at each community before a banquet at the end of the night. The next morning, they have a start line, which is why you see the next morning from 5 a.m. to 9:30. They'll basically be starting out the next day, the next leg of their trip here in Vermillion, where they will sort of have one more minor ceremony, send them off with a flag waving, and then the cars will drive out of our community and head west to Pier and then to Rapid City. So that's kind of the reasoning why we want that portion of Main Street closed off, just so we can have that space to welcome them to our community, show them, just exactly what our downtown has to offer, and then let them see the rest of the town as they've been instructed to.
Comments or questions? Since Yankton won't use the bridge, has that impacted what happens here?
Correct, yes.
I mean, will they be doing more things in Vermillion?
The morning event is now happening.
Friday.
Yeah, the Friday morning event was scheduled to be elsewhere, but it will be in Vermillion now.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you. Any comments or questions? You're letting Nate off the hook here, or? Motion and a second to approve the request. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Item 8B, a request from Vermillion Booster Club for temporary street closure of East Main Street from West High School parking lot to South Norbeck Street, and South Norbeck Street from East Main Street to Lewis Street. And Jake, please.
All right, so Vermillion High School's homecoming week happens next week, and in preparation for that, we received a street closure request from the Vermillion Booster Club in order to close the street so they could do some street painting. And so the street closure itself is on Sunday, September 24th from 2 p.m. to 6 p.m. And in preparation for that, police, fire, and EMS had been notified, and at that time, the applicant noted the neighbors had not been notified, but that they had planned to do so, and that also there were volunteers to clean up the area at the conclusion of the event. This one's a little bit different than most street closures because it also does involve painting, and so because of that, administration gave a few different recommendations to go along with that. We recommended that 10 feet of unpainted space be left at intersections, 25 feet of unpainted space be left on either side of crosswalks, avoiding painting anything that could be interpreted as some sort of traffic direction. Any names painted on the street should be painted parallel to the curb, generally just for driver and pedestrian safety. And then having them be careful about which paint they use so it can be temporary and not leave any sort of permanent damage. Administration recommends City Council approve the temporary closing of East Main Street, along with our recommendations. And although they're shy, we do have some representatives from the Booster Club who could also take questions.
This is an open hearing, if anybody would like to speak to this. Were you warned? Seeing none, Council Tom, please.
I think it would be appropriate in situations like this when we have driveways and businesses both involved to try to contact residents, the neighbors, before it comes to the city council. Or, maybe it's a good argument to say, well, the city council's already approved it, but I think it would just be a good idea to do that. So I hope there's no problem with that. I know there are some people who live along Norbeck who leave on Sundays and need to get in and out of their driveways. But that said, and as one of a number of alums of Vermillion High School, I move approval.
Motion and second. I might just add that we usually say these are approved, considered, on the condition that they meet with neighbors. Isn't that the way we often do this? That it's contingent on that, so.
Well said.
Okay, any further comments or discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion carries. Thank you. Item 8C, request from Vermillion Fire and EMS Department for temporary street closure of North Dakota Street from the north entrance of McDonald's to Duke Street. And Aaron, please.
Mr. Mayor, City Council, the Vermillion Fire Department and EMS, we're going to be holding our annual open house on the evening of October 11 from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. We're requesting that North Dakota Street be closed from the north entrance of McDonald's. That entrance will still be open into McDonald's to Duke Street, and Duke Street will still be open so you can turn onto and off of Duke Street on that. Affected is going to be a USD parking lot access, an apartment complex parking lot, and the fire department south parking lot. Both the USD parking lot and the apartment complex have other accesses, one off of Spruce Street for the apartments and other access for the parking lot access for USD. We have talked with University Police and with University Athletics, and they don't see any issues with this street closure.
Thank you. Any comments from anyone in the audience?
Move approval.
Motion is second to approve the request for Vermillion Fire EMS Department. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion carries. Thank you, Aaron. Item 8D, resolution designating sales tax fund reserves for downtown streetscape master plan. John, please.
Thank you. Excuse me. During the budget meetings you had back in August, we talked a little bit about trying to bring the streetscape master plan or downtown infrastructure improvement plan, if you will, to move that forward, or does the idea need to die? And so part of the discussion kind of talked about earmarking or setting aside $1 million of second penny funding to help move that project forward. And so that's what the attached resolution would do. Just to kind of recap for the public, public here. This is a project that started back in 2015. We had a couple of public hearings. I think one was in 15, one was in 2016. At that time, this project was estimated to cost about $2.8 million. It included some bump outs, some landscaping, seating, sidewalk, and improvements along the curb to add some character and theme to the downtown area, some additional amenities, if you will. And the project seemed to kind of stall after, I think, our last public meeting in April of 2016, and largely that was due to budget, and where's the funding for this going to come from? And so that's why we had some of those discussions during the August budget meeting about setting aside some money to help, I guess, demonstrate that this is something the council would like to seriously consider doing. And so earmarking the money would help demonstrate that this is a serious issue to be discussed, and we'll see if this is something indeed the community wants to wrap their hands around and to help move forward. I would note the resolution does not expend any money. It simply says that $1 million of second penny money would be reserved during the course of the 2018 budget, and the 2018 budget only, to help move this discussion forward. The City Council could certainly continue that if you felt the discussions have progressed accordingly, and that looks like this was something that was going to happen. So be happy to answer any questions that the City Council might have.
Comments or questions for John?
If I may, it can not only, it doesn't expend any money, but it also means no money can be expended out of that fund, right?
Yes, I mean, there's more than that in that fund, but money, yes, if you will, you couldn't expend this $1 million on something else. If you had drawn it completely down, this was the last $1 million had left in it.
Thank you for clarifying.
Further discussion? Yes. Chris.
I know in the past, Jose had been looking into grant funding for this to dovetail with this project. Is that still on the table, or?
So we applied for that grant, if I can keep my dates right, in 2015, and we were unsuccessful in receiving that. It seemed like it was about November of 2015 when he participated in submitting the application, and the application was heard. And so when the application came up, and it wasn't met with a fair amount of success, we put one of our city staff members on the committee to review it in 2016. We couldn't participate in submitting an application. We put a staff member on it in 2016 to kind of learn how it worked and better understand it. I think our experience out of that was a similar proposal was suggested for another community in South Dakota, and it really didn't meet with too much success with that particular grant committee. So I don't know. We wouldn't be eligible for that grant in 2017. It's not to say we couldn't apply for it in 2018, but we kind of learned through that process that we may not, this particular project may not be particularly well suited for that grant funding.
Further discussion? Rich?
John, do we need to set aside money also to continue studying? Or is that part of, say, your department's job to continue that? In other words, more public meetings, more talk if necessary?
I believe we might have a little, Confluence of Sioux Falls was the landscape architect firm that we worked with. There may be a little bit of that that's remaining that was set aside to complete it. In your 2017 budget, we had, if I remember correctly, we had set aside $10,000 for consultant fees or planning, that sort of thing, and I believe that was carried into 2018 as well, since that was separate from this particular issue. So there's a little bit of money left to finish up that process, or certainly embark upon additional engineering fees or consulting fees, and certainly we could bring that proposal back to the City Council if that's the direction we go.
Thank you.
Further discussion? Yes.
Will there continue to be a committee, including like the business owners?
Yes, Jose and I visited about that this afternoon. If the council feels that this is the appropriate way to go and adopts this resolution, one of the first things we'll do, we'll kind of get that committee back together and see if those individuals are still interested in participating, and how do we move forward, because that committee was very helpful in terms of kind of narrowing down a lot of the ideas to some priorities and giving feedback. So yes, I didn't see the committee continuing.
Further discussion? A motion and a second to approve the resolution. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion carries. Thank you. Item F, E. What did I do? That was E, wasn't it? Oh. Why don't I have an E here? I probably do. I do. Item E. I knew Bob was here for some reason. A resolution to submit a grant or loan application to South Dakota DENR for recycling collection trailer. Bob, please. Sorry about that.
Thank you. I'm Bob Iverson, Solid Waste Director. A little background. The curbside recycling fund equipment consists of a pickup and a compartmental trailer for curb sorting recycled materials. The trailer compartments then are emptied at the recycling center by hydraulic controls. The current trailer was purchased in 2009 when the program first started and had a major repairs done this last summer to the frame that was broken and an axle that broke off the trailer. The hydraulic system now is also getting weak. We repaired the frame and the axle, but it still is time for this trailer to rest a little bit. The replacement of the trailer was included in the 2018 budget. The 2018 budget included a 20-cent per month increase in rates that is projected to generate just over $6,000 in revenue for the program in 2018. To assist the funding of the curbside trailer, we got in touch with the South Dakota Department of Environmental and Natural Resources about a grant loan that they have available. The DNR grant loan program is funded from $1 per ton paid by landfills for each ton of solid waste deposited in landfill. The DNR staff encouraged the grant loan application, noting that there was a healthy balance fund available for recycling projects for this year. The cost of the new curbside trailer is estimated at $22,800. And the funding packet request is for a $20,000 grant/loan and with $2,800 of local funds. The hope is that the grant loan percentage would be 50% grant and 50% loan. The loan would be for 5 years at 2.25% interest with annual debt service of under $2,150. The grant loan application is due October 1st, and if awarded, we will be available in January. They meet in January to decide these things. Submitting the grant loan does not cost anything. The city share of the trailer costs are included in the 2018 curbside budget. The Solid Waste Department requests approval of a resolution providing for a submittal of a grant loan application to the South Dakota Department of Environment and Natural Resources for the recycling collection trailer. So if there's any questions, I can answer them.
Thank you, Bob. So this is 2018 budget? Nothing out of 17. Comments or questions for Bob? Motion and second to approve the resolution to submit a grant loan app for the recycling collection trailer. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no.
Thank you.
Now, item F, tree board reappointment. We have a person that has dropped off of the tree board, so we need to have a person reappointed, and so I'm suggesting Howard Wilson be reappointed to the tree board. Motion and second to approve Howard as the appointment. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion carries. Thank you. 8G, you have at your desk, you should have had this request to close a one-block section of Pine Street from National Street to Cedar Street Friday, September 29th, 2017, from 3 p.m. to 9 p.m. for Alpha Phi Sisterhood event. And Jake, please.
All right, and this was added at the beginning of the meeting. I did leave copies for all of you. If you don't have one, I can get you. I have some extras here. This is just for the Alpha Phi sorority, looking at doing a sisterhood event. Got this application in, and we notified fire, police, EMS. No one had any issues. They're just looking to close one block section 3 to 6 on Friday, September 29th for this event. And they noted that volunteers would be from the chapter would help clean up afterwards. The neighbors had not been notified, but administration is requesting they do that as soon as possible. And administration would recommend authorizing this closure.
Questions for Jake? Anyone? Second. Motion and second to approve. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion carries. Thank you. No bid openings this evening. So we'll turn to our city manager's report. John, please.
Well, I think we are finally getting a little bit closer on the telecommunications tower. I visited with the gentleman last week, and they feel that it may possibly be ready for the October 16th meeting. I did ask them to let me know prior to your meeting on October 2nd. So we may have the information presented by the representative at your second October meeting, but stay tuned. ICAP is working on completing this survey on the needs for a community center in Vermillion, Clay County. We do have paper copies here at City Hall. I believe the library and county auditor's office also have those. Participants are asked to complete the survey by the end of this month. I'm not sure. I know they're working on electronic or computer, so you take it on computer, phone, what have you. I've not yet seen that link, but as soon as we have that, we'll also post that on our city's website as well. As was mentioned earlier, just a couple of reminders on street closing. We have the Fireball Run on September 28th and 29th. Also on September 29th, we have the Vermillion High School Homecoming Parade. That is from noon to 2:30 on Main Street from Hyde to Anderson. So busy time downtown here at the end of this month with several different items. Kind of an unusual one, but certainly the weather's been a little bit different. But we did not fog for mosquitoes much this summer, but the August rains have helped them rejuvenate and come back to life. So weather permitting, we will be fogging for mosquitoes tomorrow night, Tuesday, September 19th, and also on Wednesday, September 20th. On Tuesday, we will fog zones 1 and 2, which is generally the community north of Clark Street. And then on Wednesday, the 20th, fogging would take place in zones 3 and 4, which are portions of the community basically south of Clark Street. And that information, I believe, is already posted on our website, but we'll also be trying to get that word out in other ways. And we did receive notice that I think it was your second meeting in August, the City Council approved and held public hearing with respect to a USDA grant. We did receive notice that we've received a USDA grant for $6,600 to assist with the purchase of replacement AEDs for our public safety vehicles, and that will be completed before this calendar year is out. With our new website that's under development, we are accepting, if there's community photos that people like to share with us, there are some particulars with regard to the size and clarity of those, but contact Jake here at City Hall, and we are happy to review those photos and see if there's some that we can make work for our new website that will be debuting the first part of 2018. And then included with your city council packet was one raffle notification. St. Agnes PTSA, they are selling $120 tickets. Each month for a year, 3 numbers will be drawn. The first number wins $300, while the next 2 numbers each win $100. Proceeds will be used by PTSA to support programs at St. Agnes School.
Thank you, John. Any comments or questions for our city manager?
Yeah.
Steve, please.
John, when you get notification from Verizon about, will you see their answers before they come to council to double check that they are answering the questions and we don't have to send them back again?
I will certainly, I have nothing new since this last came up, but I will certainly make that request to him that he provide some sort of written response prior to showing up to make sure we can do that. Sure.
Anything else? Tom?
I might add that it's more than rumor. I've heard in passing that's pretty reliable that the Clay County Historic Preservation Commission may still have some interest in that piece of land. So I don't know where that's going to go, if anywhere, but I just thought the more information that's out there, the better. So,
anything else? Okay, it's time to stump Mike on invoices payable. Any questions for Mike?
Move to pay our bills.
Motion is second to pay our bills. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion carries. Consensus agenda, we have 3 items. A, set a public hearing date of October 2, 2017 for a special daily malt beverage and wine license for the Vermillion Area Arts Council on or about October 7th and October 22nd, 2017 at 202 Washington Street. Item B, set a public hearing date of October 2nd, 2017 for the Vermillion Area Chamber of Commerce and Development Company Special Daily Malt Beverage and Wine License on or about October 13 and 14, 2017 at Rodigan Platz and portions of Market and Main Street for Oktoberfest events. And item C, add to the consensus agenda, set a public hearing date of October 2nd, 2017 for a special permit to exceed permissible sound levels for the Vermillion Area Chamber of Commerce and Development Company on or about October 13 and 14, 2017 at Rodigan Platz and portions of Market and Main Street from 5 p.m. to 11 p.m. for Oktoberfest events. A motion and a second to approve the consensus agenda. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. Steve? Motion and a second to adjourn. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. Motion carries. We are adjourned. Thank you.